really loud to me. Yeah, sorry about that loudness on that. We're getting that adjusted. That was a sample video that someone put up for us. We thought we would show it, and I think it's overall good. It's just a little loud, so I apologize. You can turn us back up now. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that hurt.
We finished it about 20 minutes ago. Yeah. So, don't wait. We just try things live and adjust as we need to.
And if you don't know, I'm Ed Parco, one of the hosts. I'm here with Mohawk Matt Denny, and today's guest is no other than Steve Sims. He has ruined my life.
He definitely makes me sweat a lot more than I used to. Well, and I used to sweat a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I did post a picture the first time we met. First comment was nice shirt, which I know that was a dig. And it was, and I'd say this, he has changed the way I look at things. He has changed my life overall. I'm doing more things because you just, like he says, and he'll explain this today, and this works for everybody, no matter where you are, whether you're transitioning out of the military, whether you're getting out of prison, whatever it is, he's here to help you. And he has things that he looks at totally differently than everybody else. Don't you agree, Matt?
I agree completely. There are things that I thought I had set and locked in my life. And then Steve comes in and is like, nope, that's wrong. And he did a lot more tactical than that, but it was pretty much, since we're all vets here, is pretty much a slap in the face. Like, Matt, you got to get your shit together. You know better than that. But it was the nicest way possible in the coolest accent ever. So Steve's like one of those guys that even if he's like telling you need to do this. And for those that don't know, Steve's a mentor of both of ours. And so we listen to him, even though he yells at us a little bit. But you don't want a mentor that just tells you you're awesome. That's lame. That's one of Steve's things. He really is the kind of person that's going to help you grow, even if it's uncomfortable. One of my favorite quotes from Steve is being uncomfortable or being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. So, Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. You actually started to say something nice about me, and then all of a sudden the video shut down. So I think that was a ploy so that I don't have anything on video of you being nice. Correct. But yeah, look, we all need to get uncomfortable in order to grow. And let's be blunt, and this is a very accurate sandpit to say this. You really learn a lot about yourself in those uncomfortable moments, and you really become empowered in those uncomfortable moments. So cherish them. And I'm very thrilled, and I'll be honest with you, very honored to see what you guys are doing, both separately in your business and together, as part of kind of just being part of, my world somehow. So appreciate you guys. And thank you very much for stepping up. Not everyone steps up. So thank you for stepping up and doing something with it.
So you said your favorite quote. My favorite quote with him is, I think it was your dad who said that you don't drown by falling in the water, you drown by staying there.
Yeah. He was not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I've still never understood where that came from. But he just came up with it when I was a kid, and I was just, what the hell was that? And it was one of those moments where you just thought it just got taken over by a fortune cookie. And then years later, it kind of came back to me during, again, moments when I had fallen over and lost money or went south on a contract. And I just remember that, and it stuck with me. And I'm glad that there was a chance for me to actually immortalize it into a book, and even have people like yourself quoting it to get other people to recognize the simplicity of it.
For sure. So before there's lots of ways you can intro someone. My favorite introduction about Steve is, and anyone that's worked with Steve or been with him for 10 minutes, he'll tell you that your intro pretty much sucks, which all of ours did and still do, even with talking to him constantly. My favorite one of Steve's is, the way to intro Steve is he makes billionaires cocktail stories interesting. And but I want to shift a little bit. Anyone that knows me and Ed and that knows Steve because of our following, this probably isn't the same type of conversation you're used to hearing. Sure, you'll hear some of the Steve-isms that he always throws out. But this is for veterans, for you all, whether you're transitioning out of the military now or whether you're transitioning through different parts of your life. And I want to start with a story of the time that you got asked to speak at the Pentagon.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we could even bring it earlier than that. There was a group by Phil Van Dozy called American Dream U that was running in, supposed to be in sync with a program you had in the military that was helping in people transition into civilian life. And American Dream U was a program that he put together where he brought in entrepreneurs to speak in front of the military to give them some ideas and permission to try things differently. I did it at Fort Hood, and it was an honor to do it at Fort Hood. The downside was that hadn't been heavily promoted within the camp itself, and we had something like about 15 speakers there for the day, and there was some guests that we had brought along. So in total, there was like 25 or 30 of us. There were more speakers and friends of speakers than there were in attendance. And at break time, I don't remember the ranks, but there was some serious authority in the room that were annoyed at the lack, and they went out to the mess halls and went, "Get over here." And so by like 11 o'clock in the morning, it was a packed auditorium. I did my 1 hour kind of like speech to everyone and communicate. And I don't like to do static speeches. So I'm very well known for like coming on stage and then quickly jumping off and getting into a conversation and getting the whole room engaged. You know that. You've been with me enough. And so when I did that at Fort Hood, funny enough, the camera was set to record everyone on stage. And of course, I'm no longer on stage. But what they did, and I had no idea about this, was that every piece of footage that was done had to go up to the authorities so they could just review it and look through it. Of course, I'm not on stage, but my mic was still on. And what they did was the Pentagon had a group of 3-star generals that were transitioning out of the Pentagon and out of military service. And they cherry-picked their favorites. And lo and behold, I got picked. And funny enough, Grant Cardone was one of the other people that got picked as well. So there was like, I think 7 of us that got invited up to the Pentagon. We had a tour in the morning, we had lunch, and then we went downstairs. Don't know how many floors we went down. That's a secret. But we went down into one of the auditoriums and presented in front of a bunch of generals on how to kind of like take that skill set, their experience, their knowledge, and take it out into the civilian world. It was an honor beyond belief.
That's incredible. And you said that the going down the floors is a secret. Was it as secret as pushing the button? Because I know you got to push a button in the Pentagon. The
button. So anyone that gets to meet me knows that basically I'm just a 55-year-old child. I like to do stuff, and I want to just grow my life with stories and experiences. And when I got invited to go to the Pentagon, my kids were like, "Oh, so what are you going to do while you're there?" And of course, who knows? You know, it's not like I've been to the Pentagon before, unlike you guys. So I said, "I want to push a button." And my son was like, "What do you mean push a button?" I was like, "I don't know. I just want to be in the Pentagon and I want to push a button." So when we got to Washington and we were staying at this hotel that they put us up in, and I was chatting away with a couple of guys, and these two guys were going to be looking after us the following day in the Pentagon. And the mistake I had was having a conversation with them after I'd consumed my old fashions. So they were like, "Oh, so what are you hoping to get out of this?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just want to push a button." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I don't know. I said, "Just at some point over the next day, I want to push a button." And we got laughing and joking. And then the following day, he was fully kitted up in his gear. And I realized that I'd been joking and playing around with a, very powerful, connected, slightly intimidating gentleman. And, we got and we were joking about the night and stuff. And so they took us to the main hall, and I grabbed the Starbucks and the cappuccino. and we were walking down the hallway, and I was with my mate, Robert Caputo, and I've got my Starbucks and my cappuccino. And all of a sudden, we were lined up against the left so that, you know, people could still walk up and down the halls. But we all stopped, and all of a sudden, you heard someone go, "Sims, to the front." And I was near the back, and then one of the other guys kind of like channeled that message up, and I'm like, "Shit, what's happening?" And I walked up the front, and we're by the elevator, and he turns around and he goes, "Sims." I'm like, "Yeah, I've still got my coffee and my cappuccino and my croissant." And he went, "Push the button." And I got him, and I was like, "Yes, he remembered." So, and the funny thing was, I've got a coffee, so I had to go, "Hold that." So he helped me coffee and my croissant. Well, I pushed the button, and I got someone to take a picture of me pushing the button in the Pentagon. So that's what I accomplished my goal.
So all of these things that you do, that you're known for, working with Elton John, getting people to the Titanic, they're actually for you. You do them so that you get to do cool shit.
Do you know, I heard a statement, a very terrifying statement or quip or quote, whatever you want to call it, from a friend of mine called Joe Polish. He said the definition of hell is to meet the man or woman that you could have been. And that really caught me. Now, luckily, my life has always been, hey, I want to try this, I want to do that. So I never missed out on those early years. But I really decided that, you know, I'm 55 years old. I've lived very vicariously through my clients. Now I live vicariously through the entrepreneurs that I help. I'm enjoying life, and I want to die and go up to the gates, and I want to basically have St. Peter there that hands me an old fashioned and just goes, "Well, you had some fun, didn't you?" And that will be my accomplishment. So I try to live life as much for my pleasure as it is for everyone else. And as long as they can win, that's good. But yeah, trust me, I want the fun out of it.
Well, and I really like that. Go ahead, Ed.
No, I'm just used to running it to now. You know, you guys give me such a hard time that I run the thing. So, Steve, all right. So I want to go back to what you just said. You did a lot with billionaires and other people, and now you're helping entrepreneurs. Why was it such a change? Why did you do that change? Was there something that you're like, this, I want to help these people because of this, or it just, you fell into it? How did that work?
So, I've always tried never to have too much of a plan of what I'm trying to do. Probably the exact opposite to you guys. I've always gone, well, where's this going to go? And I built up a concierge firm with the goal not to help billionaires become more interesting, like Matt introduced me earlier, but it was to get in the rooms with the billionaires. By helping them do something, I had their engagement. So I was able to connect with them. But then 3 years ago, you know, shallow plug, I got asked if I would write a book called BLUEFISHING, The Art of Making Things Happen, second shallow plug. And they asked me to write the book, naming all the famous people that I dealt with and what I'd got up to. And I declined. I said quite simply, I'll be dead by cocktail hour, can't do it, no one cares, what's the point? And then we kind of got into talking, and I did a speech for an event, and we thought, hang on a minute, wouldn't it be better, instead of talking about, hey, look at me, how brilliant, and I've worked with all these fancy people, more to the point, how can a bricklayer kicked out of school at the age of 15 be dealing with the Vatican, Sir Elton John, and Elon Musk? You know, if I can do that, you literally have no excuses. So we came up with that book concept, put it out, threw it out. In fact, funny enough, if you go to my website, and I'll leave you guys to do all of that if you want to do it. But when the book came out, I didn't do any launch. I didn't do any website. We didn't know if anyone would like it. So all I did was the company, Simon Schuster, they sent me a $2,500 check and said, you got to do a book launch, get a table at Barnes & Noble with a few bottles of champagne and autographed copies on a Saturday afternoon. And I thought to myself, who's going to have their kids on a Saturday afternoon walking through Barnes & Noble and go, look, kiddies, he looks interesting. Let's go and find out what I'm going to be sat there on my own getting tanked up on my own champagne. So I literally just took over a whiskey bar, signed over the check to him, and I said, look, when we run out of money, turn the lights on, kick us out. And I invited a bunch of friends, and fortunate. I know a few good people. We did this really cool, just get drunk to celebrate the book night. That was the whole thing. But there was a friend of ours there, Sanya Hatter, who runs one of the biggest events in Vegas called Thrive with Cole. And she videoed it, the evil vixen that she is, and sent me the video. And I thought, this is a really cool video, because at the beginning, everyone's sober going, it's an honor to be with Steve. And I had no idea the video was being done, okay? But they were secretly interviewing people while I'm getting tanked up. And the video at the beginning, I don't know if you guys have seen it, everyone's sober at the beginning. So they're all nice. And then as it goes on, everyone's getting well jacked up and it's getting vulgar and profanity. So Simon & Schuster contacted me and they went, look, you've got the book out, but you've done no website, no promotion. So you've got to do it. Under contract, you've got to do it. So I went, all right. So the first website we did was literally just buy this book. It's great. And I put that video up there and then an Amazon link underneath. And I thought to myself, well, that's good. I'll go back doing my own job. And I wasn't given permission to do that because people suddenly started buying the book and people started reaching out to me. And then people were saying, look, do you coach? Do you speak? Do you train? Now, I'd already been doing that within the corporations, teaching them about branding, marketing, conversations, communications. But all of a sudden, and I was doing that for 150 to 500 grand contracts. Now I'm doing it with people here. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. The pay's not the same, but the impact is tenfold. I'm spending a billionaire's money over here to make him more interesting when he's boasting in a conversation about how he did this with Elton John. I'm talking to people over here, rattling them up, getting them to change the way they're doing things. It's impacting their relationships, their lives, what they can achieve. The glory and self-gratification I got out of helping entrepreneurs get out of the freaking way of themselves. I found it so much more enlightening that literally I was turning down contracts in Bluefish, the concierge firm. And over probably about 12 months, I moved away from that firm. And I just focus on my events, my communication, and building up my community to get people to just do things differently, but more importantly, to do things. And so that was the whole transition. I didn't plan on it. I really thought the book would just allow me to buy a load more motorbikes and that'd be it. But no, completely moved my needle.
That's incredible. And I always love, I've heard that story at least 15 times. But now I actually hear it differently because for those that don't know, without Steve doing that, we actually would not be here right now. This is a child or a grandchild. This Helping the Brave is a great grandchild. How old, Steve? 105?
Yeah.
Grandchild.
He just looks that. It's the hard life.
Yeah. Bricklaying was hard, or the whiskey, one of the two.
It's the whiskey.
I thought that's what kept him looking so great.
This is as good as it gets, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that more now because of, and anyone that Steve's not going to do anything for you. He will help you get out of your way and teach you things to do. And that's what we're going to talk about some more. But that's what he's done for me. It's what he's done for Ed. And because of Steve, that's how me and Ed met. And even I'm going to throw him under the bus. Even a couple weeks ago, he was like, oh, look, it's like my children are playing together. Happy dad over there. So
it's a very proud moment when I see people, and I think I'm a very selfish individual. Okay. I'm hoping to create a bit more of a world that I want to live in. So if I can get a group of people in a room that full well that I vet very heavily, and then all of a sudden I see them making magic, that's a hell of a proud moment for me. You guys getting out there, not only working together, which I don't know if you two would have ever met, but not only working together, sharing the same dream, jumping on the same route and destination, and then putting it out there to help other people. Tell me how I could not be proud with that. I think it's phenomenal, and I applaud you for taking the action on doing it. I'm just giving you the ingredients. What you make with it, hey, that's down to your creativeness.
And I think a lot has to do with just getting out of your way. One of your other things I like is, make it ugly. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. Don't waste, your other statement you always say is you have more I can than IQ. Right. And that's what I think a lot of us need to do. Just what are we wanting to do? And let's figure out a way to get it done and just focus on that. And you bring it up the fact that, at 15 kicked out of school and now you were doing this. So that's bring it back to all the veterans who are getting out and transitioning out of the military. You just need to figure out what you want to do, not what your why is yet. Cause I think I think we all agree that the why comes along the way as you're doing stuff. So what would you say to vets getting out right now, or we look at, they need to look a year out before they get out, right? They need to transition. Yeah. So what do you think they should be doing if they're thinking about entrepreneurship? What are their focus in the future? What would you tell them the first thing they should do?
And before you answer that, Steve, anyone that's out there, because we are live right now, I see about 15 people on. Ask us questions. We're talking about transitioning, things you can do. This is for you as well. So we'll ask Steve questions, but also please engage, throw us some comments. Steve, back to you.
There's a few things, and I'm glad to be able to converse with you on this because this is 100% directed at vets and those people transitioning out. For one, you've got to understand that the first time you've got to give yourself permission that the first time you do anything is going to be shit. Okay. It's a big learning lesson for entrepreneurs because we go, oh, I want to do something. I'm going to plan. I'm going to analyze. I'm going to build up an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to put it onto a lovely, power session. It's going to look great. And I'll get a video done for it. And then it bombs. Okay. So the first thing you got to realize is whatever you're thinking of doing, try it. Just try it. And you're correct. You're not going to find your why. You're not going to find your reason, your destination, your one thing that you were meant to and put on this earth to do. You're not going to find that yet. So you've got to try many different things. Whatever you're thinking of doing, try it. You may go, hey, I want to be a mechanic. Ugh, I really don't like oil. Right. You've now become educated. You don't like getting dirty. Next thing. So just try things for a start. But the biggest lesson I've got for you ladies and gentlemen out there is that you're not going to fit it. And you've got to accept that right off the bat. Okay. There's a horrible pressure that you've got to come out of the military and then fit into civilian life. You weren't meant to do that. Okay. You weren't designed to do that. Own that shit, as they say. You've grown up with planning, with process, with timing, with responsibility. Sadly, a lot of civilian life doesn't have that. I had a guy that was supposed to come over to my house today at 10 o'clock. Bugger turns up at 1:30, and I'm like, you're late. And he's like, yeah. That was the response I get. I had a phone call with someone the other day, and it was at 11 o'clock. He got on the phone in 2 minutes. He went, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm fine, but you're late. And he said, it's only 2 minutes. He said, 2 minutes is late. Doesn't matter if it's 2 minutes, 2 hours, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. You were late. And that's how I started my conversation. I don't want you lowering your standards and settling for other people's standards. So when you come out, please hold on to that responsibility, that respect, that ownership of your destination, and conquer what you're going to move into. You don't have to come out and go, hey, I'm going to become a Silicon Valley magnet and I'm going to invent that. You haven't got to do that yet. But don't dilute your standards to fit in with others. That's sadly something I see a lot of people do. The good thing is you are in a position within the military where if you make a mistake or if you don't pay attention, someone could get hurt. Okay? And I respect that. But you ain't got that when you're outside. You haven't got that to worry about. You make a mistake, you lose $10. Okay, that's the downfall out that side. So bring that level down, but don't dilute your abilities and all the skill sets that you've been learning that have made you who you are, that have made you succeed and be successful and stand out. Take that into the civilian world and understand you're not meant to fit in.
Well, I think that's very important as you say that, because I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, people outside the government world, even though I'm still inside in my day job. And all of them say, any vets that need a job? They don't even care what you do half the time. They know you're going to show up. They know you're not going to be a jerk.
Yeah.
They know that whatever you got to do, you're going to figure it out. I think those are qualities that we as vets transitioning, we downplay. We're like, everyone has that. No, they don't.
No, they don't. They don't. Dude, that is a superior skill set, that being able to go, oh, they're a vet. That cuts the interview into 2/3, because we already know you're going to show up, you're going to be respectful, you're going to own your task. You know, you've already got these skill sets. Don't dilute to other people's standards. Retain the ones that you grew up on.
I want to pull another thread, Steve. About 9 months ago or so, we had a private call, and you told me something that has stuck with me that I actually did not realize. When you're in active duty, even when you're in the world I'm in, still as a civilian serving the military, it's all about everyone to your left and to your right. It's rarely about you. It's bad to be selfish. You told me the hardest thing I'm going to have to face is being selfish. Why is it important for veterans and people to be selfish in what they do and finding work and transitioning?
I can't help you unless my mortgage is paid and my kids are fed. Okay. I need to be strong in order to be able to give you guys and the people that I work with as much attention as possible. And I'll even dumb it down even further than that. When you're flying and you're on a plane and you're sitting in your chair and the steward or the stewardess comes out and they start to go through the safety rules, when was the last time you heard them say, hey, in case of an emergency and the oxygen mask falls from the top, hey, put that on someone else first before you put it on yourself? When was the last time you heard that? You don't, because you can't help someone else. You can't help someone up with a broken hand. You've got to be strong. You've got to be able to. You've got to be able to fix you in order to be able to fix somebody else. So the trouble is, we are told that being selfish is bad. We are told that, you know, as a kid, we've got our toys, we've got our chews, our jellies, our food, and don't be selfish. Share it. So we're taught from a young age that being selfish, that's something we don't want to be. Make sure you're strong before you go out and help others. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they're going to be leaning on your weakness and you're both going to be falling down. That's no good for anyone. So focus on yourself. Make sure you're strong. Make sure you're healthy. Make sure you're relaxed. Make sure those around you are the same. And when they are, look outside of your sandpit and go, okay, who could I help? That's when you're in a position of strength. And those people will want it. There's no good, you calling me up going, hey, Steve, I want to talk to you about this project. And me going, well, my world's falling apart. I can't help you. I'm actually down now looking for a job at Denny's. It doesn't help you. So focus on yourself first in order to be able to help those.
For the record, as the namesake of that restaurant, I wouldn't hire you.
Who would hire me?
He'd take it over. What are you talking about?
Damn right. Yeah, it'd be called. By the end of the day, it'd be called Simsies.
We were talking last week. Oh, God, it seems like we talk all the time now. And you were saying that make sure that whatever you're doing, you don't lose track of what you should be focusing on. Right. Because I a lot of people, I started, I'm in the mortgage industry. I started a podcast, then I started another podcast, and then I do a radio show. And you were saying, make sure you don't lose focus. You were kind of getting into that. You want to bring up more about that?
Yeah, all entrepreneurs, we do two things. We love to focus on what we've got going on. And then as soon as it starts to run reliably, we either branch out into something else or we screw up what was running perfectly well in the meantime. We do that as entrepreneurs. And we also have shiny object syndrome. We're like, oh, that sounds good. I'm going over there. And we just go. You've really got to get yourself drilled down to what's the point and what moves the needle. And you've both heard me say this a million times. As entrepreneurs, we know that we've got certain diseases. We know that we've got certain things that take our focus away. Knowing them and recognizing them allows us to handle them. So when you've got someone that's very successful at something like your radio show, your podcast, you could launch another podcast in 10 minutes. you know, and go, oh, I'm going to do this one. And the focus is going to be on, I don't know, bad shirts. You know, you could do whatever. I'm not picking on your shirt again, but
that's okay. This is actually a good shirt today. See,
that one's good, but we don't want to see the other one. You could do that, and it would be very easy for you to do that. But what's the point? And does it help? In fact, does it dilute? Does it take away from your impact? Does it take time away? So understanding what makes us entrepreneurs, we've also got to recognize can actually work against us. So whenever you're going to do anything, and it's a very simple trait and tip here, whenever you're going to do something, just turn around and go, what's the point? And is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth me putting my effort into this new thing? Now, those are two simple things. And the amount of times that I've worked on projects and I've gone, oh, I really want to do this. And then gone, you know, it isn't worth my energy. You know, the money I get out of it really isn't going to be there. And I've been able to save myself that time. And then there's been other times in my past life where as an entrepreneur, and there's an old joke, how do you make an entrepreneur go bankrupt? You look at them and you go, I bet you couldn't do that for $10. And as an entrepreneur, what are we focusing on? Do we focus on the $10 or do we focus on the fact that we were just challenged? We focus on the challenge, don't we? All right. Yeah. And so that we end up going crazy to get it done and realize that was a 10 grand job that we just got paid $10 for. But we don't notice that. We looked past and we looked at the challenge. So you need to focus. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And what's the point? You ask yourself those two questions. It'll save you a lot of effort, a lot of heartache, and a lot of money.
We've thrown around the word entrepreneur a lot. It's a word I didn't identify with until a year ago. I sure as hell did not when I was active duty. I would have thought like it's this magical unicorn, or it meant that you own a business. What is to help break it down for us, for our audience, vets or folks either in now or getting out? What does it mean to somebody? What is an entrepreneur? Does that mean you just own a business? What is it?
So I can help you out. And there's actually three levels of entrepreneurship. All okay. Right. So, and here's the funny thing. Yeah, I'm 55. I remember in the 80s and 90s, if you were an entrepreneur, it meant that you couldn't get a proper job and you were probably selling stolen audio out the back of your car. You know, it's changed over time. Whereas an entrepreneur now, we revere entrepreneurs like we revered rock stars and movie stars in the 90s and the 2000s. You know, Elon Musk is as famous now as Brad Pitt. But who earns more money? The entrepreneurs have taken over the world. The Mark Zuckerbergs, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates. You know those names. These are household rock star names, just like Steven Tyler and Brad Pitt. But these guys make more money, so we revere them. Now, an entrepreneur is someone aggravated and pissed off. They're aggravated about something until they can find a way to conquer it. There's a story that Elon Musk invented PayPal because he couldn't understand why it took 5 days to wire money from one US bank to another US bank. You know, why did it take that long? He invented PayPal so it could be done in a few hours. Guess what Chase does now? You can get money transferred in a few hours. So entrepreneurs start off by being pissed off and aggravated until they fix it, until they solve the situation. Now, not everyone can take that risk, but they do like being part of a bigger picture. They do like being part of a movement. They do like being part of being able to solve something. That's a good number two. That person's called an intrapreneur. And every entrepreneur, the visionary, needs someone to actually structure that vision to succeed. That's an intrapreneur. That's the COO. That's the CFO. I have one, as you guys know, Christy, Claire. These are my intrapreneurs that help my vision come to life. Now, then you've got the third one that's laughable. This is the wantrepreneur. They want all the glory of being an entrepreneur, but they don't want to put the work in. And when they do, and the shit goes south, they cry and they throw themselves a pity party. That's the wantrepreneur. I want all the glory, but I don't want the risk. Because as an entrepreneur, until you've been screwed over, ripped off, can't sleep on a Wednesday night because payroll's on Friday and you've got no money to make ends meet, how are you going to be able to pay them? How are you going to pull this deal off? How are you going to be able to satisfy that contract? Until you've had all of those experiences, you haven't earned your stripes. You're not an entrepreneur. You're a wantrepreneur. So understand that it's painful being an entrepreneur. Think about Elon Musk. Him and his brother and his mum used to live in the same room in the same apartment of a one-bedroom apartment. So it didn't get given to those guys. You've got to work it.
Well, and any vets out there listening, you're used to working it. I've seen more and more veterans turning into entrepreneurs and creating their businesses because they get out and they're like, no, I'm sick of being in a broken system. I'm sick of being told I can't fix this. And more, they are finding ways to create their own business, start, fail, do these different things. And there are programs out there. The VA and the organizations are starting to realize that, and a shift's happening to kind of create those paths where when Ed got out before the dinosaurs died, there was no veteran help. And then when I got out 10 years ago, they were starting to do some skills training, but it was mostly still college related. And now they have all kinds of programs that veterans can find out there that can help you how to start a business, how to become an entrepreneur, how to hire people so you don't have to do that. They have a lot of those things. So I really appreciate that explanation, especially the way you said it about putting in the work, because that's something vets have never had.
Let's break it down a little bit further and take the shine off of an entrepreneur. Okay, take the prettiness away from it at the moment. What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone that has the solution to your problem, and for you to get that solution, you exchange it with a checkbook or credit card. An entrepreneur creates a solution to somebody else's problem. In the military, you're told to go and solve a problem, correct something, fix it. You have that mentality. And I remember both in Fort Hood and the Pentagon, a lot of the time you were told to solve a problem with only half the assets that you really wanted to be able to do it, but you were still told, sort it out. And then what happens? You assume that problem and you go and find a solution for it. That's what an entrepreneur is. The difference between being in the military and in the civilian life is in the civilian life, people don't get hurt if there's a mistake. And secondly, in the civilian life, you can charge for that solution. So that mentality can cross over. If you've got the mentality where you can look at a cluster and go, okay, where's the solution in this? You're an entrepreneur. If you're the one running away, going back to the room and going, sir, how do I solve this problem? You ain't an entrepreneur. But the person there looking at it going, I've got a solution for this, then it's in your head already, and you can take that mindset into civilian life.
And any Marine out there, we love all the services, but of course, I love the Marine Corps more. Raw, Ed.
Yeah. Well, you are a Department of the Navy, so we'll just leave it at that.
Somebody's got to drive us around. Hey.
And cut your checks.
Exactly. Hey, you worry about that. Well, like Steve said, you'll be our entrepreneurs to support us.
Ooh. Yeah, but at least I've learned that my hair is not going to grow back.
Any Marines out there know the common phrase of we actually start with broken shit so that we know how to fix it. In boot camp, they don't give us new stuff. They give us from day one broken things so that we know how to fix them, so that we're on the field, we know how to fix them. And with what you just said, that aligned perfectly in my mind.
Yeah.
With you know how to solve a problem.
Yep. Perfect.
And you have the advantage because you come from discipline to where you know how to do things, where a lot of people who just in the civilian world don't have that same discipline from what you just went through. And that's one of the things that I think is, I don't want to say lost, but it was much tougher earlier on in the military than it is now. And I hope they don't lose too much of that, because it helps you as a person to grow up and figure out where you're going in life. And so when you do get out, it's a lot easier for you to figure out what you want to do and move forward because of the restriction you've had to this point. So for me, I really understand that, and getting out and doing this entrepreneur stuff, that it's easy because it was so much harder when I was in. Do you make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It tells, and it's like when you're at school and you've met George and my kids. They say, why am I learning this stuff at school when I could literally just download an app for it? You're not learning it to get to the result. You're learning it to understand the methodology of how you go from one situation to an answer. You're learning how to solve a problem. That solution-based mentality can cross over into any vein of your life. You can be given a chore like, hey, I'm going to get someone married in the Vatican. Great. Let's cut it down into how we solve this. I can't get the car to start. I can't get the bike to go. Let's break it down. The idea and the acceptance of your brain cells up here to go, okay, we've got a problem. How do we solve it? That is why you're learning that stuff with broken shit, as you say. It's the acceptance of knowing how to look at a problem and then creating a solution that will have you conquering, as opposed to running back, knocking on someone's door, going, hey, sir, do you know how to fix this? That's not the person you want on the team. And I'm thinking that's not the person you want on the field next to you either.
Right. And also, I mean, you figure out I figure out how to deal with problems all day long, how to fix those solutions. But I've also learned to only do what I do best. Right.
Yes.
And that's the next step. Once you become an entrepreneur, figuring out what you do best and only do that. I learned a long time ago, whether you'd say it or not, I talk to people, I speak to people. That is what I do. I have the ability to help people tell their stories, whether it's through the mortgage industry, whether it's on podcasts or on live, any of that kind of stuff. And it's important that I'm here to help them. But I also know that I don't do paperwork well. So I have somebody else do with that. And so I think it's very important to find out what you are best at and only do that. You might not be able to do that today because you don't have the dollars and the man, to do it, but you plan and put a plan in place to have that going forward.
You're right. That's probably one of the hardest things for an entrepreneur, because they say when you don't have money, you do it yourself. And when you do have money, you get someone else to do it for you. In the early stages of being an entrepreneur, you don't have the money, so you do everything. You put the coffee on, you take the client calls, you do the invoicing. As you grow up and you start getting that money in, a lot of people still try to do everything, because guess what? That's the way it's always been done. You then have to realize, okay, what makes me exceptional? And you've got to be able to, in the early stages of being an entrepreneur, understand what is your unicorn, what is your power play, what moves the needle of this company and what doesn't. And guess what? Putting the coffee on does not. I'm the same as you, Ed. I don't like invoicing. I don't like looking on the monies. I don't handle the finances. I don't handle the infrastructure. So what do? I find unicorns that they are superior at it. There's an old saying that if you focus on your weaknesses, you end up with some really, really strong weaknesses. So outsource them and focus on what makes you brilliant.
I totally agree.
Yeah, agreed completely. And I think for those listening, that applies to anything. We're talking a lot about entrepreneurs. That's because that's Steve's realm. But any form of transition that you are in, that applies.
But the other thing I want to add here, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to plug my inner Edison, but I talked about this the other day. The biggest thing I find is as you're growing your business, it gets very lonely at the top. You must have a coach, a mentor, something they call a corner man, whatever that phrase is, not a cheerleader, an anti-cheerleader, right? Yep. We don't need cheerleaders. We need these people in our lives to help us figure out where we should go, because we don't always know. I was on a call with Steve last week, and he's like, you don't see it, do you? I'm like, no, I don't see it. It's so much easier for me to see it in other people than it is myself. And so he says this whole thing, and of course he doesn't record it so I can write it down, but it just was amazing. And you need these people in your life. And I understand it costs money, but it's an investment in yourself, and you need to do that as soon as possible so you can figure out what you need to do and where you want to go.
Does it?
Does it what?
Cost you money?
In the beginning, it's an education. I'm just saying in the beginning, So
let me challenge you there.
Well,
If
I'm just
you
saying,
didn't
when you
have-
first start it, it costs
Yeah.
you money, but then you realize it's an investment and it doesn't cost. You make more money by doing it.
I'm curious to see what happens when Ed cuts off his coach. Let's see how this goes.
I thought he froze. I'm so used to his Wi-Fi
No,
cutting
I
out all
was
the
just,
time.
I was letting you ramble on.
I just let me finish what my thought was and why I say I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most mentality is it does cost, but eventually, I mean, you see that it doesn't. So go ahead, you can say your point.
So let me ask you this: when you decide you're going to get a coach, and you push the button for the coach you've chosen, and you use your credit card to make the payment, then that's just cost you XYZ of whatever cost you to get a coach. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So if you open up a Fidelity account or a cryptocurrency account and you spend the exact same money on the currency or the stock, is that a cost or is that an investment?
That was an investment.
Investment.
But they were both done exactly the same time. But one of them you perceived as a cost, the other one you perceived as an investment.
No, I'm just saying that's how you look at it when you first do it.
No, that's how you look at it.
No, that's how. No, I totally.
Parker,
if I look at it,
let me get
my credit card statements, and I'll show you how much of investments I've made.
Yeah, but my point is,
yeah,
it became an investment for you when the coaching started to work for you. Yet if you put money in stocks and shares, regardless of how they actioned over those next few months, that's an investment. Today, we look at different things and we have a different perspective on different things. If you can be saved getting into a business which is going to cost you money and the coach can swoop in and go, hey, does that move the needle? Should that be where you should be focusing on? Or why are you? And they steer you away from that, then they've saved you losing a lot of money. My point is, the second you invest in yourself, it's an investment. Now, I'm gonna change that slightly. The second, like your coach, and you've been in with your coach for 2 months, 3 months, the second you start looking at your coach as an invoice and not as an investment, get rid of them. Okay? These coaches that go, well, I'm probably going to upset a lot of people here, but the second that the coach is sitting there going, well, yeah, this is we do a minimum of 12 months or we do a minimum of 24 months. No, that's your mortgage payment. Okay? The second you start helping you, the student, and the coach becomes an invoice and not an investment, get them out of your life. But you're right. No matter where you are in life, you've got to start investing in yourself as early as you can. That could be buying a book. That could be subscribing to a podcast. It could be subscribing to this channel. Invest yourself in the time, and no matter where you get, the bigger your bank account, get those people in smarter than you. I have Jay Abraham. I have Ari Meisel. I have Jim Quick. You know I have a lot of coaches. No matter where you are in life, if you want more from yourself, you ain't going to get there alone. But it's an investment, never a cost.
Boy, that was easy to get him going.
I know, right? It's a quarter.
So he thought I was all setting myself up like, oh, no, I was to get him going.
Oh, you get him on his soapbox and he goes.
That's right. That's right.
So on that note, Steve, for those who have gained value from this, there's many ways to. What are the ways where they can connect with you? Maybe they want to invest in your book, invest in you. What are the ways to do that?
Well, I want them to invest in themselves, not in me.
Thank you. I said it wrong.
You did, but we let it go. You're a Marine.
It's a Marine. Yeah, it's a Marine.
Yeah. Just wanted to help you out there. Yeah. So, look, the bottom, you could buy the book, Bluefishing, the Art of Making Things Happen. You could join an Entrepreneur's Advantage with Steve Sims, the Facebook group. You can Google what your interests are and join those groups. What I suggest you do at this moment in time is join as many free Facebook groups as you possibly can and determine whether or not you like the conversations. And if you don't, unsubscribe and go into the next ones. But invest at this moment in time, the time you have. Not asking you to invest the money, invest your time, get as many conversations as you can. Find out those that relate to you. Find those that challenge you and make you uncomfortable and spend more time with those to find out if they nudge you into becoming more productive. And then that's the moment when maybe you subscribe to that community. Maybe you go to one of their events. Maybe you get involved in one of their one-on-ones, whatever. But I'm not saying I'm the person, but I am saying there is a person out for you, but there should be enough free material to get you from where you are now to where you need to be going to get on the right journey.
I want to go back to your uncomfortable. I think it's so important to get uncomfortable at everything you do, right? Put yourself in that situation from day one. Every time you can, do everything you don't know how to do and get that resolved. Because for myself, you say it, but I've been doing it. I didn't realize what you were doing. It's just one of those things. And it's like, wow, you get so much more stuff done.
Good. Yeah, you guys are a prime example of this.
Yeah.
Well,
Prime
thank
example of what? Being idiots? Because I think we're that too.
Yeah.
We all are. You know, it's those idiots that can don't think before they go in. And 9 times out of 10, you come out and you go, how did I do that? I don't know. Well, I just went in. And that's where a lot of people get scared. There's an old quote of a movie that fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. Stop thinking, start doing. And in the civilian life, you can do a lot more of that.
I'm sorry, one last thing. My wife said, probably not. My wife said to me the other day, she's like, you know, you're in all these organizations that you're in, right? She goes, but I think you found your people once you started getting connected through Steve Sims and all those people. I'm like, yeah, it's totally that way. I mean, I'm a misfit like the rest of us, and we're in these. And, you know, Justin Breen, who was on my podcast, talks about it. We're all aliens in a certain point, that they're different than other people and we look at things differently. And I think a lot of that has to do with our background, where we come from is different than everybody else's. And that's, I think the military helps that for me. So,
well, I think it's important to note, anyone out there listening, you could look up Ed Parco and Steve Sims, and they are both going to look like very successful people, and they are in their own right. Don't let that stop you. I am successful in my own right. Haha. Don't let my head get too big. As I can hear my wife laugh behind the screen. But I'm actually working on a thing right now. I am just like you vets out there. I don't have these mega businesses. I work for the government still, but I am finding ways to make things work for me. Some new ideas that Steve and Ed recently gave me. Because no matter what you're doing now, there's always other ways that you can invest in yourself, enhance your life, and find things that transition. We're talking about transition. I'm in a transition right now again. So there's lots of moments that happen.
And that's, again, having the right person in your life to help you see things that you don't see. Right. I'm still waiting for that check, by the way.
Oh, wait, I got to pay both of you now? Jesus.
No. We're good.
Steve, thanks for coming on today.
It's actually been a pleasure, and it's been an honor. So thank you, gentlemen.
No, thank you. We really appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy person, and you love other podcasts.
He is.
I do like a couple.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to feed that coin one more time. So as people are getting their name out there, should they or should they not be on other people's podcasts?
And before you answer that, him and I had this talk last week. So go ahead.
Yeah, get on podcasts. 100% podcasts are the new medium that everyone needs to be on.
Once you know what your voice is going to be, right? What you're going to talk, right?
Well, I have a little funny little saying that just because you can get on a podcast doesn't mean you should. So understand what your point is and how it helps someone else before you care about how it helps you.
I thought that was your Clubhouse line.
I have a lot. My first, I remember when I did it for when the iPhone started doing selfie videos. And I remember saying it then, just because you can take a video doesn't mean you should. So I've used it I'll probably use it for whatever the next social. I repeat my shit.
Excellent. Well, hey, thanks, Steve. Don't stick around with us. Don't hang up yet. Everyone else, have a great day. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, podcast, subscribe. Let us know who you want to hear from next and how we can help you guys, because that's what this is all about.
Don't forget to share.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.